Stories from the past.
Another story from Stories from the Past. Back in 1985, I had a friend visit at a Holiday Inn. So I thought I'd go right on over and visit my friend on the third floor of the Elmhurst Holiday Inn. Well, as I get off the third floor, I look down the hallway and I see this man slap this pregnant woman. So being the hustler I am, I go running down the hallway and I said, "Hey, bro, you don't go slapping pregnant women, you son of a bitch. Pick on somebody your own size." Anyway, I ended up breaking my pinky. This woman starts kicking me. So I got up and ran down the hallway to my friend's motel room and knocked on the door. I said, "Let me in." So I go inside and told her the horrific story of the pregnant woman down the hall who just got slapped and ended up kicking me. So here I am in this motel room with my friend having a little fun. Knock, knock, knock. There's a knock at the door. My friend Kitty opens the door, and lo and behold, who is it? Old badass himself and his pregnant wife. They come in. Come to find out, it's Kitty's friends. Long story short, I had a friend of mine with me that night. His name was Roberto. He was my best man in my wedding. After a few drinks and a little bit of drugs, we all started getting a little rowdy in that room. Next thing you know, everybody's fighting. I've got this guy upside down hitting my feet, and I got my arms around his leg and his buttocks, and here he is upside down punching on my feet, and I'm sitting down on the chair right next to the balcony on this third floor. I look over, and here's my friend Roberto on the floor being kicked with steel-toed boots, and he's screaming. So I said, "Oh my God." So I didn't know what to do with this dude who's punching my legs upside down as I got my arms around him. So I said, "Well, hell with it." I stood up, went over to the third floor balcony, and whoa! Threw dude right over the third floor Holiday Inn balcony. I sure the hell did. Went back inside, started fighting with this guy with the steel-toed boots. Got him labeled, put him on the floor, got my friend Roberto, put him on my shoulders. He was only about 125 pounds. He had a broken leg from these steel-toed boots. So I carried him down the third floor hallway to the elevator on my shoulders. I pushed the button for the first floor. I get off the first floor. I walk through the lobby of this Holiday Inn about 2 o'clock in the morning with this man on my shoulders moaning, and I walked out the door. I headed for Roberto's car, and as I did, right past me, woo, woo, was an ambulance. Wow, was a cop. I said, "What the?" And I got this man on my shoulders. So I let them pass me, and I crossed the way, got in Roberto's car, drove his ass home. Lo and behold, his wife was upset. Never let me see my best friend Roberto again. Moral of the story? Don't throw people off of third floor balconies just to save your friend. You know why? You lose your friend.
Stories from the past.
Another story from Stories from the Past. Back in 1994, I met myself one of the worst girlfriends you could ever meet. She was heavyset, really not that attractive, and that is not why she was probably the worst girlfriend you'd ever want to meet. On one particular occasion, in her high stupor, apparently she was doing methamphetamines and I didn't know. She had weight on her, she could sleep. Come to find out, the little bitch was slamming the stuff, sticking needles in her arm. At any rate, on this particular occasion, my stepson was visiting at that time. My late stepson, by the way. God rest your soul, John. He was 15 years old at the time. Patty was her name, and I was on the front porch cooking some steaks on the grill. So I'm out on the grill with a beer in hand, cooking some steaks, and all of a sudden I hear John say, "Phil, watch out." I look to the exit of the house, of the apartment, and here she comes. Patty, with a stereo in her hands, a big stereo console. Apparently she was going to hit me over the head, or crazy bitch. Anyway, I grabbed the stereo, pulled it out of her hand, put it on the ground, threw her in the living room. I said, "Get the hell out of here." Went back to cooking my steaks. Couple seconds later, "Phil, watch out." I look up, here comes the same bitch with a knife in her hand. Well, this time I grabbed the knife, threw the knife out, and wrenched her throat by the windpipe. I said, "Hey, wait a minute, wait a minute. We can't be having this. Hey, where's your eyeballs going? Hey, don't let your eyeballs go in your head. No, don't let your eyeballs go in your..." Bam, threw her down. She started flopping around like a duck. Looks like a duck flopping around when you choke somebody to death. I've done it a couple times. I used to be pretty nuts about that. Anyway, their body thinks they're dead, so the organs begin to die. They lay on the ground and flop around, and they can't get right back up. Takes about 20-30 seconds for them to get their senses together, and they can't get right back up. And they poop their pants. They sure do. So at any rate, here I am. I've got this nut laying on the ground, flopping around like a duck. So I grabbed her by her long 3-foot-long hair, dragged her ass off the balcony, through the apartment, through the living room, unlocked the door on the 3rd floor, dragged her ass down the frickin' concrete sidewalk to the stairs. Boom, 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 boom. 2nd floor. Boom, 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 boom. 1st floor. Dragged her ass all the way out the 1st floor. Threw her out by the fence post. There's a big mailbox there outside the apartment complex. And walked my happy ass back up the stairs to my 3rd floor apartment. Walked in, turned around, locked the door, walked in, sat down next to John on the sofa, and quietly rolled a joint. So as I'm rolling this joint, John's staring over at his stepdad, Phil. He knows I'm a little crazy anyway. And John says to me, and I'll never forget, "Phil, can I ask you a question?" I look over at him as I'm rolling this joint. "Yeah, what?" I'm rolling this joint. He says, "I don't know," he's 15, remember, "I don't know, do you always choke women to death after you pull a knife out of their hand, watch them shaking on the ground, and then you pull them by their hair all the way outside, Phil, and you threw her on the ground by the mailbox, and you came back upstairs and you just sit down and you're rolling a joint. Do you always do that, Phil?" I looked over at John and I just smiled and I said, "Well, I just did."
Stories from the past.
Another story from Stories from the Past. Back in the early 1990s, I had a slew of drunk drivings. For some reason, being upper management and making a lot of money and having sports cars meant more expensive shots. And that included the pool game. Boy, I love to be a pool shark and have about 15 glasses of expensive wine lined up and get in fights. That was my thing. This particular time, I ended up on that particular program called Cops. What happened was, and I don't remember much, I was playing a pool game and winning all this wine. I do remember getting in the van. I had just bought this van from my brother-in-law. Hi, Bob. He won't forget this episode. At any rate, so I have this van and I'm drinking all this wine. I just bought this van, haven't even changed the tags or the plates yet. And apparently what I did is I got in this van about 2 o'clock in the morning, started driving home, and I must have passed out or blacked out, and went over the median in the middle of the road, ended up on the other side of the highway facing the opposite way of traffic. I guess I slammed into a woman and her child, I don't remember. I ended up on the other side of the road. Apparently, I had my foot on the gas, and I kept trying to get away. On the cops program, you see flames and sparks coming out of the rear 2 tires because there's no more rubber left, but I thought I was still going to get away. What I do remember was looking at the cop out the window and him saying, "You can stop now." Apparently I was drunk and I was trying to get away, but it wasn't going to go nowhere, and he was looking at this drunk, belligerent man saying, "You can stop now, get out of that van." What I did was I got out of that van, and as you'll see on Cops, if you ever look it up, they say, "Is your name Robert Russell?" We all know it isn't. I said, "Oh yeah, that's me. Convict I am." Anyway, I wake up in the morning on a bunk in jail. This is nothing new to me. I had been in jail over 100 times in my life. So I wake up on this bunk and I go, what the, when I hear a cop go, "Get up, get up." So I look up, I say, oh my God, I'm in jail. Get off the bunk. So I jumped off the bunk, walked out in the hallway. He said, "There, now walk this white line right there." So I looked down, half asleep, half awake, and walked this white line. He gives me the paperwork, says, "Here, now follow the line and go down to the end of that doorway right there and go out that door." I said, all right. I don't even know what's going on. Didn't even read the paperwork. Have no idea why I'm in jail. I go down the end of the hallway and open the door, and sunshine. It's early morning. That's all I know is it's early morning. Where the hell am I? I looked around and I was in Fremont, California. I knew that place pretty well. I said, what the? So I opened the paperwork and it said, Robert J. Russell, drunk driving with crash. I'll never forget the way it was worded. Drunk driving with crash. I don't think they say that anymore. Anyway, I said, oh, shit. Another DUI. Robert Russell, what the fuck? I said, damn. First thing I'm thinking was, well, let's go get my van back. So I go to the old place where they tow your car, and I said, I'm here to pick up my van. They said, all right, give us that $296 or whatever the heck it was for the overnight. And I paid it. They gave me the keys. I was in for a surprise. I walked down that lot, looked for my van. I said, what the? The whole front end's crashed in. The whole sliding door on the side's missing. 3 of the tires are gone. All the windows are crashed. It was up on blocks. I said, I just spent $300 for something I can't even drive. What happened last night? Weird. My brother-in-law got pulled over on the highway, and he was an executive at the time. Apparently they strip searched him, put him in jail. They thought it was me, and, well, he tried coming after me with the old, let's say, 30-06 and 12 gauge. He was not happy with his brother-in-law. I guess the first thing he said when they said you're under arrest was, I know my brother-in-law has something to do with this. Yeah, I did.
Stories from the past.
Another story from Stories from the Past. Back in 1994, I was a rambunctious young one while I was in my 30s, and I was causing a lot of trouble and havoc in California. Well, when I lived in the Bay Area making all this money in aerospace and engineering, we would often travel across the border of Nevada into Reno, Nevada. Reno, Nevada is very similar to Las Vegas. A lot of gambling, a lot of casinos, and a lot of people. So upon one time, I decided to take some girl with me to Reno, Nevada. No, it wasn't my wife. Well, anyway, I had this hot rod Camaro IROC Z. This damn thing was like a rocket. Had these big wide tires, big aluminum wheels, and I'm flying down the highway, going over the Sierra Mountains to Reno, Nevada. I get to Reno, Nevada with this girl, Kathleen. She later ended up in a car chase with me and lost one of her breasts, and I had well, that's a different story. At any rate, I'm in Reno, Nevada at a casino. I can't even mention the casino. I'm at a casino. This is 1994. I brought $3,000 with me, boy. I'm going to gamble my butt away with this Kathleen. So I get to this nice-ass casino, get us a nice-ass room, park my big gas-guzzling sports car on the outside the motel room. I say, I'm going to be right back. I head for the casino. Long story short, about an hour and a half later, I'm down to $50. Yeah, folks, it'll happen to you if you catch that fever. I'm down to $50. I looked around. What the fuck am I going to do? I'm down $50. Hell, I'm 300 miles away from home. I need at least $150 worth of gas. I got a motel room. I need food. I got 2 days rented already, and I've only been there a couple hours. $50? Well, shit. Oh, shit. Well, hell, there's no way I'll lose it all. Put that $50 down on blackjack. Yeah, boy. Lost it. I said, no shit. Never happened to me before. You hear these stories, but it never happened to me before. Well, here's one of my claims to fame. I pulled a real boner with this particular maneuver. So I'm standing at the payphones trying to call Grandpa, trying to call Mom, trying to call Dad, trying to call Uncle Fred, trying to call a neighbor I don't know. Anybody, collect, call, please, anybody. Help me, I'm in Reno, Nevada, got my ass in trouble, got no money, please help. Nobody answers the phone, nobody takes my call. Well, over to my left's this little sweet little 82-year-old woman, and I look down, and I'm inches away at the payphone. I look down, and sure enough, she's got all these $1,000 chips and $100 chips right there in her purse. And I looked down and I said, no shit, there's thousands of dollars. Now, you got to remember how desperate and wild and young I was at the time. And hell, I was a convict. I didn't give a flying fuck. So then I looked down and I said, well, no shit. Wham! I took my ass right out the door with that old purse, boy. Wham! Boy, I was running my ass off. Usain Bolt right now, flying down that parking lot. Made a left. I made a right. I heard people screaming, get him! Get him! Get him! And I made another left. Wrong left. So I'm flying my ass off, made that left. I look, and right ahead of me, 40, 50 feet maybe, are all these karate fucks, Bruce Lee black belt dudes practicing out in the parking lot. Now, I don't know this, and I'm flying my ass off with this purse wrapped around my neck, people screaming, get his ass, and they look up, I look up, and I'm going about 5,000 miles an hour. I couldn't slow down if I was Superman. I was running so damn fast. Right into Bruce Lee. He put me in a headlock, had me down to my knees. I look up, and here's old Sally herself with little Bobby, your little 5-year-old son. Look, Bobby, a criminal. Smack, smack. All these pictures being taken of me with my head in this damn headlock with this karate fuck. This guy stole money from an old lady from a casino in Reno, Nevada, and we got a picture of him right here smiling. Look, Bobby.
Stories Stories from the past.
Another story from Stories from the Past. Back in the early 1990s, I was a upper management quality assurance engineer in aerospace. I'm not bragging, I'm stating the facts. I was making some pretty good money in the Bay Area of California. Well, I was married at the time, and I had a young girl, and I had a stepdaughter living with me with my wife. Well, needless to say, I was a crazy human being, and everybody had to endure some grief when they were around me. This one particular time, we had a beef, we had a fight, a big screaming fight in the middle of the day. The police were called, the neighbors must have called, and the police showed up again. So we go outside and they consult each one of us. They bring the man to one side, the woman to the other side, get their stories. Then they asked me to leave. They said, you're going to have to pack your hygiene, your toiletries. You're going to have to leave for a couple of days. I said, all right. So they escorted me back in the house. I grabbed my toiletries and stuff and got it in a backpack and walked my ass away from the police, nice and casually, with something else on my mind. I wasn't done yet. So I walked away, walked down the block, turned left. And as I turned left, there's a little creek with a fence behind our house. So I jumped the fence, walked down that creek about 4 houses to the back of where my house was at. Now I'm behind a fence and a bunch of bushes in my backyard. So I peeked through, and I can see that there's nobody in my backyard. And I know the police are still out front. There was 3 of them. And my wife's probably still out there talking to them. They'll be leaving soon. Let's see what's going on. So I jumped the fence, kneel crawled all the way up to the back of the house, and stuck my ear up to the family room screen, and I could hear inside. And I heard the police say, well, if you have any more problems, you just give us another call and we'll be back. And I'm thinking, here's my time to get my ass inside this house. So I removed the screen, slid the window a little farther open, and crawled in the family room. Now I could hear at the front door in the front of the house saying, okay, thank you, bye-bye. And I'm already inside the house. So I crawled my ass up, stood up, and peeked my ass in the living room, and she's shutting the door to the front door with the police. I walked up behind her, put my hand around her mouth. I said, hey. She goes, oh. I said, hey. You thought you were going to scare me with the fucking police? She said, ooh. I said, big fucking deal. And I could look out the window, and they're walking out to their cars. She was shitting bricks. I said, next time you have somebody call the fucking police, I'll fucking kill you. Another episode of the Maniacal Philip.
Stories from the past.
Another story from Stories from the Past. This is one of those stories that's not so lighthearted, but it'll reflect the childhood I must have endured to be such a cruel, cruel human being. Back in the early 80s, I had 2 children. When I was very young, I was too young. I was 19 with my first child, 21 with my second. And I was already a dysfunctional human being as it was. I was wild, careless. I was physically and emotionally abused, but that does not forgive what I'm about to explain. So anyway, back in the early 80s, one day I'm having one of my fits. I'm screaming and I'm pissed off, blah, 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 and I'm fighting with the wife. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. Whatever the fight was about really doesn't matter at this point, but I started screaming. I need to get the fuck out of here. Where the hell are my car keys? You see, when I was under trouble, under duress, My thing was being alone and smoking some pot, some marijuana. It would calm me down. So at that point, I knew I need to get the hell out of here. Things are getting crazy. I need to get the fuck out of here. Where's my car keys? Well, she knew my modus operandi, and she knew I was going to have to run out, so she hid my car keys. So I'm looking under the pillows of the sofa. I'm looking under the sofa. I'm looking in the bedroom. I'm looking in the bathroom. I'm freaking out, pissed off, and she's pretty much screaming and laughing. You ain't going nowhere, you son of a bitch. So I turned to this alternative. I said, you either give me the fucking keys, I'm going to pick up this boy right now. He was 2 years old. I'll pick up this boy right now and beat his ass until you give me the fucking keys. Fuck you, you son of a bitch. So I picked him up one-handed and started slapping the shit out of his ass and legs. Smack, 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 smack. Damn it, stop, smack, 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 stop, smack. Where are my fucking keys? Smack, smack, smack. I threw my child down and he started to vomit all over the floor. So my wife grabbed both of the kids, ran outside in the hallway in her nightgown, screaming, help, help, help. One more time, there's a feud going on with the couple across the hallway. So here I am in a fit of anger going, I need to get the hell out of here. Police are probably going to come. I knew this situation well. Where the fuck are my car keys? Something rung a bell in my head. Ding! Look in the freezer. For some reason, I opened that freezer door and sure shit, there were my car keys. I grabbed them and ran my ass out down the stairs to my car and got my ass out of there before the old police arrived. So I rolled a joint, listened to my 8-track stereo. I think I was listening to My Sharona from the Knack, and I just drove away and got high. I parked a few streets down and I could still see the apartment. And I sat there listening to music, smoking my joint, mellowing out. And I watched the police show up, watched my mother-in-law show up and grab the kids one more time. The wife and kids are gone. And slowly drove my ass back after everybody left. Went back upstairs and finished the rest of my joint. That was my life.
Stories from the past.
Another story from Stories from the Past. Back in the early 1980s, I was a young man and I had just gotten married. My sister was over with her boyfriend and they were soon to get married. And we decided to go to a Panda Breakfast House, I believe it was called. Panda Breakfast House. So we go to this breakfast house to go in to have some coffee and some breakfast about 10 o'clock at night, I believe it was. Well, I walked in first. And when I first walked in, I already had heard some stories from my wife. She was a waitress there. She said, oh, there's two guys that always show up there with black leather jackets. They bend forks and spoons. They will not pay for their meals. They scream at people, and they just walk out. And I remember saying to her, well, that can't be true, honey. How can anybody just walk into a restaurant, it's a family restaurant at that, and not pay for their meals and bend spoons? She said, Philip, they do. So anyway, I'm walking into this Panda restaurant knowing this information, and I don't think much of it. I walk in to see how busy it is. Well, as soon as I walk in, the lady behind the register says to me, hey, are you Kelly's husband? I look at her and I thought that was a little odd. I said, oh yeah, why? She said, you better leave, because they'll hurt you. I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? So I scan over the restaurant, and here's these two guys with black leather jackets walking towards the front of the restaurant. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? So they both walk up to me and they start bitching. and I could smell alcohol on their breath. Apparently they were drunk. About 30 years old, 27 years old, both of them, and they're drunk, ready to fight with these black leather jackets on. So I'm listening to their speech and bullshit with their drunken bullshit, and I said, hey, listen. You guys want to kick somebody's ass tonight? Great, but you ain't kicking mine. I'll see you guys later. Fuck you. I walked out of the restaurant. Well, I get outside, and here comes Bob, my brother-in-law, soon-to-be brother-in-law, with a baseball bat in his hand. I go, what the hell are you going to do with that baseball bat? He goes, let's go take care of him. I said, go on, Superman. You go on inside. I open the door. Go ahead, Superman. Kick their ass. He walks in with a baseball bat. He walks in, the door walks in. They said a few words. He says a few words. He threw down the baseball bat and took a swing from hell. That's about as close as he was to their face. Hell from the sky. He was nowhere near their face. When that punch finished and rounded all the way around, they pop, bang, bang, pop, bang, whoop, whoop, pop. Started beating his ass. That was a dumb move, Bob. So anyway, I opened the door, and here he comes running out. Let's get the hell out of here. I said, all right. So he got in the car, went home. Now, Bob's got a bleeding lip, busted up nose, and my sister's looking at me. Look what you did to my boyfriend's face. Look what you did to him. I said, I didn't do shit. You should tell Superman don't go starting a fight if he ain't gonna finish it. Anyway, so about 2 weeks later, I'm driving down the street. I look on over to my right and I see this big tri-motorcycle. You know, a motorcycle with 3 wheels, 2 in the back, 1 in the front. It had one of them big old beer barrels in the back for a gas tank and stuff. I thought, that's a pretty neat looking trike. And as I got next to it, guess who's riding this trike? Old Johnny Granada himself, right next to me, smiling away. I said, that's one of them drunk son of a bitches with the black leather jacket. So I followed his ass. It was nighttime. I followed his ass. When I found out where he lived, it was across the street from a forest preserve. He parked his trike, went inside, and I thought, that son of a bitch, I'm going to get that cocky motherfucker. Remember that fight you picked with me? Well, you picked a fight with the wrong guy. I went to the liquor store, bought a 12-pack of beer, went to Radio Shack right next door, bought some speaker wire, and drove my happy ass right back to that forest preserve and parked my ass down the street. I walked across the street from him in the forest preserve and hid myself behind a tree. Put down my 12-pack. It got dark. I went across the street to that trike with this speaker wire, twisted one end, twisted another end, put one end on the spark plug, put the cap back on the spark plug, put the other end in the gas tank, put the cap back on the gas tank, but I didn't let the wire go all the way down in the gas. I left it up in the air so it'll make some combustion, if you know what I mean. And I walked back across the street and started drinking the old 12-pack of Old Style. Boy, oh boy, was I waiting for that thing to go off in the morning when old Johnny wakes up to start his trike. Here we go, it's sunshine. It's about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm pretty wore out. Drank all 12 of them. I'm saying, damn, I hope this works. So here he comes outside with some girl, don't know who she was. She gets in a car, he walks up to the trike, and I'm thinking, here's the moment, right in front of this girl. He reaches over with his key with one hand, puts his hand on the handle, and starts it. Blum, 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 blum. I'm thinking, what the fuck? And he turned around, he walked in, waved to her, goes in the house, opens the door, shuts the door, and I'm thinking, what the hell was that called? Boom! It went up, and it started on fire. I'm thinking, what the fuck? The son of a bitch missed it. And it really didn't make a big explosion, but it started that damn trike on fire. He comes running out screaming, he got his garden hose, and I just laughed my ass off.
Stories from the past.
Another story from Stories from the Past. Back in 1991, I was having another one of my, well, let's get stoned-ass drunk, play pool all night, beat about 99% of the people I play, win about 20 glasses of free wine, get drunk, go out and probably crash into somebody, or get into a fight. Well, this particular night, I'm at the pool table, old pool shark Phil here, sitting there with a pool stick in my hand, waiting for the next opponent. In walks 3 Italian guys. Now, I'm in Fremont, California. In walks 3 Italian guys. They walk up to the table, and they're ready to start playing pool without me. Now, if you know anything about pool tables in a bar, you have to beat the person who owns the table. If I'm running the table, beat me, and then you get the table. So I said, excuse me, if you want the table, you have to beat me first. Well, they spouted out, what are you going to do about it? I said, well, I'll take all 3 outside and beat your ass. They said, let's go. I said, let's do it, man. So I headed out the door, old Rocky Raboon right here, boy. I'm ready to kick some ass, boy. I walked out that door, and what'd they do? Pushed me from behind. I go tumbling out, landed my head on the concrete stairs. I remember one of them looking down at me going, have you had enough? And I remember thinking, you pushed me from behind. We didn't even get outside, you punk. But I didn't say nothing, just looked up. So anyway, they go back inside, I go back inside, I get up off these damn stairs, and I don't know any better, stoned-ass drunk. I go inside and sit at the bar. The owner of the bar looks at me and says, Phil, I think you better go to the hospital. I said, wow, what? There ain't nothing wrong with me, Phil. The back of your head's bleeding really bad. You better go to the hospital. I said, really? You put my hand behind my head. Yeah, blood everywhere. I better get to the hospital. So they let me drive drunk to the hospital. Made a lot of sense. So I get to the hospital. This is the funny part. So I'm in the hospital, and here they are with this drunk guy who apparently got in a fight, and the back of his head's cracked wide open. So they tell me they have to give me staples with this gun. Staples, pow, 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 staples in your head. So I said, all right. So I'm sitting there, and they're going to give me anesthetic. Well, here's this drunk, belligerent me. Fuck your anesthetic, you son of a bitch. Fix my fucking head. Sir, it's going to hurt. Please be quiet. Fuck you. Fix my fucking head. A nurse walks in. Sir, please watch your language. There's a 12-year-old in the room next to us. Fuck her. Fix my fucking head. All right. Ow! Ow, fuck! Ow, fuck! Ow, fuck! You sure you don't want anesthetic? No. Ow, fuck! Ow, fuck, sir! Please be quiet. There's a 12... Fuck that 12-year-old! Ow, fuck! 18 staples they put in my head.
Stories from the past.
Another story from Stories from the Past. Back in about 1993 or so, I walked into a bar. I ordered a beer, nothing different. This was in Milpitas, California, right off of 237 Calaveras Boulevard. So I ordered this beer, and the bartender looked at me and he goes, it's you. You were those kids. You were those kids that was in the Volkswagen, huh? I go, what the fuck? What are you talking about? He said, it's you. He says, weren't you in an accident right down the street by the exit ramp where that big lamppost is bent sideways? Wasn't that you that the police rammed into that lamppost? I go, what the fuck? I said, what? I never knew what happened. Is that what happened? I said, all I know is I woke up in a hospital. I had a busted forehead and a broken hip, and I never knew what the hell happened to me. I said, I do remember my sister coming to visit me in the hospital saying, you know, I'm tired of visiting you like this, and threw flowers at me. I said, but I never knew why the hell I was in the hospital. He said, yeah, you were here playing pool. I said, that sounds like me. He says, you were here playing pool with some young lady. He said, and you apparently had won a game and this big Hawaiian guy wasn't going to pay you. So you got in a big fight with him and punched him, and he went flying through the doors. And when I came out to get you, you were pounding on him, and I pulled you from your collar. I said, hey, bud, you need to leave. He said, I was worried about you because you were so drunk. He said, I watched you and your girl, whoever she was, get into that little Volkswagen bug you had, an orange one, right? I go, yeah. He said, well, you drove off without your headlights on, and I was worried about you, so I watched you drive down the street. He said, then I seen you turn left down on Main Street going towards 237, and a cop in a big Bronco started following you. He said, apparently you started noticing a cop was behind you, and you sped up trying to outrun him in your bug. I'm like, oh my God. He said, then you made a quick left on that exit ramp right there, and you didn't make it quite. You were going so fast. And this police Bronco rammed you into that big lamppost, and that's why it's cocked sideways. He said, I went running out there. Oh, my God, I hope they're okay. I go running up to the car. He said, I looked and you were unconscious, and the young lady looked like she was missing a breast or something. I go, yeah, she ended up missing a breast. He said, and I asked the cop, do you always chase people without your lights on and crash them into posts? And the cop said to me, if you want to keep your bar, I suggest you get back to your fucking bar and mind your own business. He said, I didn't want to lose my bar, so I came back, and I always have been worried about you. Yep, sounds like me. Running from the cops, trying to go off an exit ramp in a Volkswagen bug. No lights on. Ram into a post. He crashes in behind me, crushes me into the lamppost, crushed my head. Kathleen lost her breast. I woke up the next morning in a hospital with a broken hip, gashed head, never knew what happened. 2 years later, I find out the truth.